Okay. Hi, everyone. So, yes, first and foremost, I want to listen to you as to what your doubts are and where you need any kind of assistance. And then I'll get into explaining our ethics program. First, off to you. You can raise your hand and I'll call out your name. You can ask. If it would be good if you can turn on your camera so that I can see you. Okay. Hi, Siddhant.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Since I'm very new to this platform, I don't know like
Oh,
the
you're new
voice.
to Zoom?
Yes, ma'am. I'm very new to this, so I
Okay.
don't know whether to text or I'm confused right now.
Oh, okay. You can ask. We anyway have a few participants. We can talk.
Okay, okay,
So,
fine.
yeah.
So,
So, yeah. Go on.
ma'am, I'm preparing for 21,
Hmm.
and I've started ethics. I started reading it from certain notes, and that's what I'm currently doing right now. And uh, I have a doubt that will we be able to finish in like 7 8 lectures of ethics? I watched that video in YouTube with Yogesh sir you had. So I watched it, and I like normally 30 lectures the coaching institutes take. So I was like had this doubt that whether we'll be able to finish it, or is it a crash course kind of thing, or is it something else? So
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question. What happens in most of the traditional classes is students come just to listen to the teacher and take notes and then go. So I believe that if I am there to teach you ethics, then you'll not be an active participant in the classroom. But
okay.
ethics is all about your understanding and how well you write. So what we mandate is before coming to each class, you are expected to read a set of pages in one book. So we use like lexicon as a reference book for the entire course. So for each and every chapter and for each and every subtopic within that chapter, I I share a detailed list of pages. So let's say page 1 to 8, page 1 to 4 in this particular chapter. That's what you have to read. So that is a reference textbook. So you do the reference reading and then you come to the classroom. In the classroom, I'll debrief all the topics. So I will explain all the
Okay.
topics again, but I'm adding a layer on your understanding. I don't want you to assume that I can teach you all ethics. So ethics is already known to you. I
Oh,
sincerely believe that each one of us already knows ethics. We are born and living in a society within a set of rules that itself makes us aware of some ethics, right? That's natural. If we are living under a set of rules, we are leading an ethical life. So it's not that we don't know of ethics. It's not a very technical subject as well. It's a very simple subject, commonsensical. So on top of your reading, we will have a session. The session lasts for around 1 to 1.5 hours, where I'll explain the contents in the chapter. But that alone will not make you fully competent. So you need to
mhm.
do something else, right? So we will
Okay.
give you a journal. That journal has 15 to 20 questions on every chapter. So we have 6 theoretical chapters and 1 case studies in ethics. So for each of these theory chapters, we have designed a set of questions, almost 15 to 20 questions for each and every chapter. So you will go through those questions, solve the journal, and come for the classroom. So
Okay.
you will have to put in around 3 to 4 hours of effort
Okay.
personally from your
Hmm.
side, and we debrief all the learning and we'll discuss each and every question in the journal.
Okay. Okay.
So your reading is done, your writing is done, and you are starting to understand ethics from your own perspective, not what I tell you. So
Okay.
I will clarify all the doubts from journal and also will explain each and every key term in the syllabus. So the one thing that we have found among students in our ethics courses, they're highly participative in ethics classrooms because they're reading, they're solving a journal and coming to class. They're not coming as you know recipients of welfare schemes. They don't have any
Yeah.
participation. They don't come like that. They're fully equipped already. They come with enthusiasm to know answers to some of their questions. So it is
Mhm.
highly participative that way. So I think that worked in ethics.
I had
And
that doubt because I thought that maybe this course is for 2020, those who have cleared mains, and like I thought that way.
8 sessions and periodic assignments is more than enough for you to master ethics. And I'm sure once you read syllabus once, write few answers, and solve the journals, you'll be fully competent, right? It
Okay.
shouldn't take you any difficulty, not at all.
Okay.
See, essentially, the belief that we hold is ethics is easy. We don't want to complicate a subject which is already easy. It's pretty straightforward, right? So what's there to give you so much, confuse you? Not needed. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyone else? Please turn on your camera so I can see you. Kuldeep, Snehi, Bhanumati. Surya, hi.
Hi, ma'am.
You too have doubts on ethics?
No, ma'am. I thought I'll join and you would tell something useful for me because
Oh,
completely about ethics.
okay. Okay. So anyway, I'll just take you through our journal. Maybe that can help some
Yes,
of
yes.
you understand what that journal is about, because we are using a technical language calling it journal. Many are unable to understand what that means. So our students also share their solved personal journals on group, and it's very constructive. So let me just share my screen, and I hope you're able to see this. Can someone confirm?
yes, yes,
Yes.
certainly.
Okay. So this is the structure of a typical journal, let's say on attitude. So these are the topics covered in UPSC syllabus, right? So we will ensure that you have questions from all of these topics here below. So we will have 15 to 20 questions per topic in the journal. We will have some previous year questions, case studies, categorized topic wise. And we also give you some directional content. So let's say there is too much difficulty in understanding a key term. There is lots of confusion on ethics, morals, values, for example. So we will debrief what ethics, morals, values are with examples, very, very simplified, so that the concept is clear. So for each and every topic in the syllabus, each and every chapter and the subtopics, if there are extremely key terminologies that students are finding difficulty in understanding, we cover that in directional content like this. And for the other topics, we have questions. So these are some reflective questions that make you understand your own attitudes. For example, Indian society is backward, politicians are corrupt. Do you believe in these? Have you been to other societies and come to this opinion? Or have you even seen politicians and arrived at this opinion? If not, what? So this question is directly related to one topic in our syllabus, that is political attitude. So we don't directly ask you a question, what is political attitude? How are your political attitudes shaped? That makes it a UPSC question. But for you to answer that question effectively with personal examples, we are trying to bring it down to your opinions. So do you believe in these statements? Have you been to other societies to come to this opinion? So what shaped your attitude towards politicians? So we are checking that. One example. Next, What is your behavior towards people different from you? Someone from the other gender or race or caste, religion, region. What is responsible for this perception? Again, attitude. Attitude is the opinion you hold about someone or some event or some object. Why do you hold that opinion? Either you believe that these people are naturally criminal or naturally a woman is weak. These underlying attitudes shape your behavior. So if I again ask you, how is your attitude and behavior linked? That becomes a UPSC question. But you cannot bring in your personal examples there. But if I give you a question like this, you will have a list of personal examples. You can use them in your UPSC answer. So for each and every chapter, we have such journals. You will solve the journals, read some theory and come to the session. We will discuss each and every question in the journal, and every student is expected to speak. They will share their answers, and we will discuss the answers, whether it's right, whether they have some doubt, and we will also discuss each and every key term in the syllabus. All these will be discussed with lots of examples, videos, very interactive classrooms. So that will be taken care of. Theory will be taken care of. Do not worry. What is more important is for you to solve the journal and come. Then the class will become really participative. Otherwise, it will be just teacher coming and teaching the typical age-old way, which I don't believe might help you a lot. That's it. So for a week we have 2 sessions. Let's say on Monday you will be given your journal. On Thursday we will sit for a discussion. And we'll also have assignments. You can solve the previous year questions. We have a good workspace where all students interact among themselves. So they're sharing reviews on answers. Students are interacting. I'll be monitoring answers. So it's a very collaborative, participative way of learning. Once you do it, I think your inhibitions on writing answers will come down. As long as we keep reading, we'll be confused if we can write or not. But the moment you start writing, it becomes easy. Any other doubts? I think you just a minute. Yeah. Kuldeep, yes. Unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah. I have a very general doubt, ma'am. I'm suffering through very traumatic situation. I have cleared the GS this time and I have failed in CSET miserably. And now I'm not in any situation and how to restart again, like which path should I follow, where should I go? Because it is like that, how big blunder I have committed. Because it's very luckily that the GS paper goes very good. It is very lucky to attempt that much good GS paper. But this time, I'm afraid that rather will it go fine next year or not, or what will happen. That's why I'm very confused about that. And secondly, my doubt is how to approach now the main topics like ethics, how to approach optionals. But because I have now time for that. So these are my how to. And I'm thinking about how to study case studies, like because in ethics paper 50% part is case studies only.
Yes.
And how to handle them. Like I was thinking that how to should I join someone tutor or mentor for that which I can handle the case studies better.
Okay. Most of the questions are very general. So first let me take questions on ethics and then I'll answer generic questions to the end. Anyone else has any specific questions on ethics that I explained? Otherwise we can open it for a general discussion.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yeah, Surya.
So when we identify the attitude which we have, for example, the politicians are corrupt. So first we'll identify what is our attitude about it. Then do we have to change it or we will just identify it?
Change it, your personal choice. But for answer, identifying is important. So
First
you
thing
have
is
a ready,
identification.
yeah, you have a ready set of examples that you can use in the exam, right?
Okay, okay, yeah.
So identifying helps. Changing, personal choice.
Okay. So we identify and we use that in the answer writing also.
Yeah,
Exam. Oh,
exactly. So the moment you identify your political attitudes, right? So this is my perception. There is a question in UPSC. Why do you youth not join politics? What attitudes are stopping them from actively participating in politics, right? So for that question, you can immediately start with your perception. So I have a belief that most of the politicians are not helping India. They're only gaining selfishly. See, that could be your perception. Take an example, write it. And yes, my attitude was not shaped by facts, just shaped by few people. Few negative people shaped my general attitude towards politicians. That's enough. And you can write the same has been the case, if we extrapolate to many youth in India. This has been the problem. The perception that politics is for few mighty people, it is only shaped by caste or money. These attitudes are stopping youngsters from joining politics like that.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming to Kuldeep's question on ethics case studies, I would say if we can bring down our case studies in UPSC to few dominant traits, personal level, issue level, and institutional level, I see repeated references to leadership display, that situational leadership display, testing one's strength of conscience. So how ready is someone to compromise on conscience or stand by conscience if there is institutional challenge? Second. Third, recurrent theme on sexual harassment at workplace. Very prominent. Fourth, they're checking how well an individual is responding to law, right? So are you just going by your personal values or are you going by law and institution? Another theme. So I would suggest you to go by themes, evolve some patterns, solve, and then you can maybe become confident in case studies, because it need not ask for lots of effort. It's very simple. Take few case studies, draw the patterns. Most of them can be solved with similar approach. At least if you find 20 case studies of 15 to 20 case studies of different isolated models, then you can extrapolate the same for solving any case study of the same method. So you need not solve hundreds and thousands of case studies. It's very simple. So if something is simple, we should find simpler solutions. We need not complicate. Right? That's on case studies. And there are so many. Yeah.
One more question. How to sync the current affairs with ethics? Like how to sync the examples, how to take out the diagrams, very specific because we have to relate them to the current. Very specifically, we have to relate them. And then how to find out that which example would be appropriate, because it is very subjective. Subjectivity is very lot of subjectivity in the examples there, that we should be given, we should not be given, because it depends upon lot of situations and conditions that we should give it or not it.
See, I would say examples, diagrams, cases, facts, all of these are just topping on the ice. But what you need is extreme clarity on theory. If you're very clear on what ethics means, what corporate governance means, what values means, what conscience means, what whistleblowing means, what integrity means, if your concepts are clear, then everything is your example, right? So from even a little case, you can draw so many examples. So let's say recently there was an instance where a pregnant tribal woman had died after her 16th pregnancy because she got no access to healthcare. You can take one contemporary example that you can give from that is an attitude towards sterilization. In India, sterilization is considered a shy thing. People don't talk about getting operated. right? So she had that attitude based on prejudice or some stereotypes, some conditioning. So one attitude has shaped the outcome. You can also talk about larger attitude of bureaucracy and government, how people like her are ignored in the process of development, are not involved in the process of development, in growth. Why didn't they have a primary healthcare center accessible? That's because they are largely left out by administration. Second ARC calls administration an ivory tower. Bureaucrats are called ivory tower. So because they're not accessible to people, you can quote these attitudes. So we need attitudes which are more democratic in nature, where people are welcomed. So for one example, you can draw so many references if your concept is clear, right? So the same can be applied for facts also. Just with Gandhi's autobiography, you can write an entire ethics paper. So just with non-cooperation movement, you can quote him for conscience, you quote him for integrity, for courage, for leadership, just his withdrawal from non-cooperation movement. You can use across all these concepts. Right? So like that, once your concept becomes clear, you can use it. There are so many materials for ethics. It's creating very much confusion. Some say read this, some say read that. Please clarify. I would say, please stop reading for ethics. Please start reflecting. The more you think about ethics, the more you start logically questioning ethics, your ethics paper becomes simpler. Don't be a passive recipient of ethics content. Be an active reader. Start questioning what that content means. And as much as possible, try to reproduce it in your own words. So when someone says attitude is the, let's say, the perception that we hold towards an event or an idea or an object at any particular instance in our life, it looks so vague. Instead, you ask yourself, okay, so how am I looking at women? Am I looking through the traditional conditioned lens that society gives me? Then my attitude is conditioned, right? It's a social attitude. And how am I looking towards someone who commits a crime? If you say committing a crime is wrong, it is your moral attitude, because you're made to believe that someone who did a robbery or someone who did a criminal act is essentially wrong. So if you just start bringing down ethics into your own words, ethics becomes extremely simple. Please stop reading. Take any one good source if you have in the market. Any one good. You can go for lexicon. You can go for internet. Any good source. Just read minimal material. Reflect more. Look at previous year questions. Then you'll understand you don't even need to read much, because you barely have 12 questions from 6 chapters. It means around 2 questions per chapter, and you're expected to write 100 to 150 words. What will you write? How much theory can you write? In 150 words, how much can you write? In those 12 questions, at least 3 to 4 are extremely commonsensical. A life which is not examined is not worth living. What theory will you write in that question? If you read entire Socratic theory, can you answer that? No, you just have to speak about examining life. Questioning. Why questioning makes us a better human being. Lack of questioning makes us stagnant. You can take references from history. Man has been questioning religion. No, Buddha questioned Hinduism. That's where Buddhism started. You can give any examples like this. So please stop reading more. Reflect more. That is ethics. In case studies, is it necessary to approach merits, demerits way? It is not necessary, but UPSC is asking us to do that. For each and every option, UPSC is asking us to evaluate merits, demerits, what is right, what is wrong. So we have to, unfortunate. Sometimes there are actually no merits in that option, but you are expected to write. UPSC is making us do it. What can we say? Just write one merit and say there's nothing much more in this. Enough. And examine the demerits. like that. Okay, I'm in engineering. I want to complete GS4 in BTech itself. What books shall I follow? Can you briefly mention? You can take any book in the market. You can refer to DK Balaji. You can refer to Lexicon. Any book of your choice. Refer to previous year questions, and then that should help. It will be taken care of. Thank you. Okay, so now coming to Kuldeep's question on CSAT and what's the way ahead. So Kuldeep, I too had a bad experience this year. One of our best student, the brightest of the lot. So she's scoring 135 to 138 in her GS1. She lost due to GS2 this year because of CSAT. So I don't have any definite answers to your question as to what you have to do with respect to CSAT. You might have to start practicing much early and maybe maintain your cool in the exam hall, right? So a little more relaxed and well practiced. Go with the confidence. That's it. That should take care of your CSAT. And coming to what should you do from now? You should have a plan, definitely, yes. I would say start with your optional. Give it some good amount of time. Wrap your optional as much as you can, preferably by Jan, Feb. So if it's a science optional, you might need time till Jan or Feb. If non-science optional, you might do in 2 months, full focus. So wrap up your optionals because you'll not have much time before prelims and after prelims for optional. So this is a very good time to consolidate optional. And if you have already finished optional, then do your GS mains topics, GS1, GS2. GS1 may I think you only have world history and post-independence India, which are not in prelims, right? Everything else is in prelims. GS2 may governance, some parts of social justice, GS3 security, disaster management, little topics which do not even need a lot of time. You can even do them post-prelims if you now have very long schedule. So consolidate your optional, do simpler subjects, start writing essays. Maybe you can try ethics, finish ethics if you haven't already done, because these are small subjects that can go along easily with optional. Social issues in GS1, social justice in GS2, security, disaster management in GS3, little topics which may just need 2 to 3 hours of effort every day. For 1 or 2 weeks, you should be done with them. Do them along with your optional. So consolidate optional, wrap up your small GS subjects, stay abreast with current affairs. Do not lose track of current affairs. And set a target that you wrap your optional by Jan or Feb. So that from Feb at least, you can focus for 1 month thoroughly on mains related GS topics. Those exclusive topics in governance, economic development, agri, whichever you have, you can focus in Feb. And then from March, again, get ready for prelims. This is the template that I have in mind. You are free to choose your own. Anyone else? Siddhant, were you about to ask something?
I had this one doubt that should I complete ethics first and then do the GS2 part governance? So that there are some overlap, I guess, in governance and ethics.
That's true. You can do that. Because GS2 governance, you don't have much to read anyway. Like Citizen Charter, RTI, e-governance, social audit, and self-help groups, NGOs. That's all you have, right? Accountability, transparency, governance. So all that is anyway done in ethics. So you can finish your ethics and GS2 governance, you can do anytime. Like even before prelims or after prelims also okay. It's not very theoretical. They're not like optional that need a lot of effort to read. No, they're simple concepts, technical in nature.
And ma'am, I was going through the syllabus of ethics, wherein in the first para that they mentioned this paper is testing the attitude and and approach of in issues relating to probity and integrity. So, ma'am, what's the difference between like approach and attitude? Are they one and same?
So, attitude is your general belief, right? How you look at the issue. But approach is how you solve the issue. Whether you take people along with you, whether your solution is very comprehensive or is it just short term in nature. So, I think for most of the solutions, students give, I'll punish them, right? But that is very short term. But bringing that attitude reform is long term, sustainable. So that is your approach to problem solving, whether it is long term or short term, whether it is inclusive of everyone or whether it is your power centric, whether you're ready to listen to people or you're going by your own decisions. That is how you solve problems. How does this approach come? It comes from your attitude. If your attitude is, I believe that people have knowledge, then you will approach people to solve the problem. Right? If your attitude is based on the dominance or supreme powers of individuals, of bureaucrats, then you will not approach them for solutions.
Democratic
Right? So,
approach.
yes. So if you hold a bureaucratic attitude, your approach will be bureaucratic, centralized approach to issues.
They're like related to each other.
It's like attitude behavior link.
Okay.
Like that. So actually, thanks for bringing that up, because UPSC itself tells in its own words what it is expecting. It is not asking you to be a thinker, not Socrates or Plato. They want to know your personality, how you think, how you look at it. Right? It's extremely personal in nature. If you give it big theories, then you will be lost in the current of Aristotle and Plato.
Also, ma'am, like what examples to give? Like, should we give bureaucrats example of bureaucrats in integrity, foundational values of civil services? Example. Should we give bureaucrat examples? What they are doing, like famous examples of election commissioner, erstwhile election commissioner, normally.
Session.
Session. So.
Yeah. So for that, we have a template. You can use your personal examples for first half of ethics. First half where you're asked ethics, thinkers, that is philosophy, attitude, that is psychology. Attitude, emotional intelligence is psychology part.
Yeah.
Ethics, thinkers is the philosophy part. So for these 3 chapters, so these 4 chapters we have, you can use lots of personal examples. Right? Whereas for the other 2 chapters, ethics in public administration and probity in governance, you can use public examples. So public examples, you can again break down into either examples of administrators or public leaders. So we have so many public leaders, no? We have Medha Patkar, we have Harsh Mandar, we have Aruna Roy. They might be bureaucrats before, but not bureaucrats now. You can still use their examples because of public leadership.
Ma'am, whenever like we're writing negative about a leader, so for example, we want to contrast one who is like who is upholding the values, the other one is the like infamous politicians such as Lalu Yadav. So can we give examples of like politicians who are convicted at least in some case or the other? So
no, instead of taking the name, you can just mention some ADR statistic that these many percentage of our politicians are corrupt. No, why unnecessarily? No? We may never know the political affiliation.
But they are convicted, so I thought.
Of course, I totally agree with you, but better not.
Okay.
Of at least of people who are alive now. Because even though they're convicted, they're contesting elections. Come on.
So one more thing, I found that philosophical essays and some quotes in ethics, like they seem to be like similar. Like one quote can be, we have to write in 1,000 words. In ethics, we have to write in 150 words. Same thing, like same quote, say for example. So like
very good question. Yeah, how do we do it?
Yeah.
In essay, ethics are closely related on that front. Ethics expects you to add your insight or your observation in 150 words, whereas essay asks you to elaborate your insight. So in essay, you can take 2 or 3 dimensions of the same. So let's say an unexamined life is not worth living.
Not worth living.
So in ethics, you can directly start by saying, if we do not question, there is no progress. So be it institutions, be it individuals, we have to allow people to question. Let that examination constantly happen. Actually, that helped Indian democracy. Like that, you take one argument only, right? Questioning.
Yeah.
And then you write your answer and you're done. In ethics, you give lots of examples. Whereas in essay, you just elaborate that. So why do societies question? Right? So what is meaningful examination? What if our life is not examined? So where did examination or such reflection help shift society towards a higher goal? So you take those nice subheadings, give a formal shift to your essay and elaborately discuss. So you need lots of examples, arguments to build an essay. So it's an elaborative argument again to prove the same point. Questioning is important. That's it. That's it. Anything else? Is that
Ma'am,
clear, Siddhant?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear. I had this one doubt. I was just going through the notification of UPSC. So wherein they mentioned in GS, like they contradicted themselves. Firstly, they were saying that you require deep understanding, intellectual traits, and then they are saying that it does not require any specialization. Any well-educated person will be able to do it. So they are. I think they are contradicting themselves.
No. Let me explain.
Themselves.
Because intellect is different from knowledge. So what do you understand by intellectual ability? To appreciate facts, to examine facts, to do a study, to reflect and form an opinion. That is intellect. No, not just. So if I come and tell you, Siddhant, ki democracy is worst, well, let's go back to dictatorship. So that is just knowledge. I gave you a dump of information. But when will you shape your intellect? When you know when you can appreciate what democracy is, why do we need democracy? Studied that examination is intellect.
Okay.
So formally studying something is intellect. But you need not go into what are the different types of democracy, representative democracy, direct democracy. What are the countries with direct democracy? How did those countries perform? So comparing Switzerland versus New Zealand versus India, that is a deeper study. Academics do it. We don't need it. But we need to have the intellectual ability to approach a subject with logic, with understanding, going by facts. So otherwise our discussions also become like popular media discussions, right?
Yeah.
So in popular media, there's no debate. They're only speaking facts. They're not examining a topic. An intellectual examines. They need not go deep, but they can have their opinion. Understanding, based on understanding. That's the difference. So I think most of the issues that world faces today, we can answer them based on our understanding. We need not do a deeper study.
Okay.
There are a few questions in chat. When you get time, please post decoded ethics syllabus in Telegram channel. This is a good question. Sure, Roman, I'll do that. Please give some suggestions on current affairs. Yeah, I'll do that. Any good website giving real life examples which may be used in ethics paper? I think your newspaper reading should take care of that. You need not consult any special website. Just your daily newspaper reading will give you lots of examples if you understand concepts well. Ma'am, please take similar session on history module. Okay, I'm not very competent on history. I just have a generalist understanding. I'll check with any friends who can do that. On essay, yes, sure, we can do. I'll just post an essay strategy. We already have essay strategy video on YouTube channel. You can look at it. DW initiative is okay. Thank you so much. How to approach lexicon? Just try to understand the concept rather than memorizing the definitions. That's it. So for each and every definition you read, check whether you have understood it or not. If you know Richard P. Feynman, this is what he says, knowing is different from understanding. So we know so much, but we understand very less. So understand more. That's how you go with lexicon. And also on a DAW initiative, many have asked if we'll provide model answers. We don't want to provide model answers because we are only providing the approach by which you should answer a question. You should tackle a question, not the content. Everyone has content. There are so many websites giving you content, but many students are still not very clear on how to write an answer. So we're trying to break down a question so that answer writing becomes easy. So I would encourage you all to please write answers. You can use our Telegram channel for that. Any other doubts? Okay, so shall we leave? Yeah, so our ethics course is starting from November 2nd. So you can reach out if you have any further queries on the same. So broadly, this is the model where you read a bit, come for the session. We discuss the entire topic. We solve journals together. We take some assignments and then tests. It can be very easily done. Okay, bye then. Have a good evening. Take care.